The Classroom of Minds. Introduction to a Unique Classroom. In a galaxy teeming with diverse species, each possessing their own unique abilities, few places were as intriguing as the Zorat Confederation Academy. This esteemed institution was renowned for its advanced studies in psychic phenomena, drawing students from across the stars. Among them was a human girl named Sofia Hernandez, whose presence often stirred curiosity and skepticism alike. Sophia sat in the back corner of a large classroom, surrounded by students who were predominantly Zorat, an alien race known for their tentacled forms and exceptional telepathic abilities. Today's lecture was about mental shielding techniques, a crucial subject given the dangers posed by other telepathic species. Professor Ziller, a distinguished Zorat educator with shimmering teal skin, paced at the front of the room, his tentacles waving gracefully as he spoke. "Class," he began, his voice resonating through their minds like a gentle wave. "The ability to shield one's mind is essential in a galaxy filled with telepaths. Today, we will explore various techniques that can help protect you from intrusive thoughts and unwanted psychic influences." As he spoke, a chorus of telepathic acknowledgments rippled through the classroom, a harmonious blend of clicks, chirps, and soft hums that would have sent any unprepared human running for cover. But not Sophia. She was made of sterner stuff. A mischievous spirit, Sophia had always felt like an outsider among her peers. While most students embraced their psychic heritage, she often found herself questioning it. With a mischievous grin spreading across her face, she raised an eyebrow at Professor Ziller's serious tone. "Oh, come on," she thought sarcastically, "as if I need lessons on keeping voices out of my head." Her internal monologue was interrupted when Professor Ziller turned his eye stalks toward her. "Miss Hernandez," he called out, amusement mixed with exasperation evident in his voice. "Would you care to share your thoughts on mental shielding? Or perhaps you'd prefer to continue your fascinating internal dialogue?" Laughter erupted around the room, a mix of nervous giggles from those unsure how to react to this human's boldness. Sophia leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms defiantly. "I wouldn't dream of depriving my classmates of such riveting information," she replied sweetly, sarcasm dripping from every word. The classroom erupted again in laughter, this time tinged with admiration for Sophia's audacity. Professor Zeller cleared his throat, or rather made a sound approximating it, his tentacles twitching slightly in annoyance but betraying a glimmer of amusement. "While I appreciate your unique perspective," he said dryly, "I must remind you that this is a serious subject." Sophia leaned forward in her seat, eyes sparkling with mischief. "Oh, I know it is. But let's be honest, it's rich coming from a species that can't handle caffeine without going into cardiac arrest." A challenge accepted. The laughter that followed was uproarious. Even some of the more reserved Zorat students couldn't suppress their chuckles. Yet, amidst the jovial atmosphere lay an undercurrent of tension. Sophia had crossed an invisible line. "Miss Hernandez," Professor Ziller said sternly but with an undertone of respect, "since you seem so eager to participate, perhaps you'd like to demonstrate your own mental shielding techniques for the class." A hush fell over the room. Even the ambient psychic chatter faded into silence as all eyes turned toward Sophia. For a moment, uncertainty flickered across her confident facade, but then something ignited within her. "Oh, Professor," she said sweetly, "I thought you'd never ask." With exaggerated slowness, she stood up and smoothed out her uniform before making her way to the front of the class. Each step was deliberate. She could feel all eyes on her, some filled with admiration while others teetered on concern. As she reached the front, she turned around to face her classmates with an expression that would have made the Cheshire Cat proud. "All right, folks," she announced dramatically while cracking her knuckles. Prepare to have your minds blown. An internal struggle begins. As she prepared herself for what was supposed to be an impressive display of mental shielding techniques, a flicker of doubt crept into Sophia's mind. What if this went wrong? What if she couldn't control it? But before she could dwell on these thoughts any longer, she took a deep breath and focused inward. Okay, she whispered under her breath as she closed her eyes momentarily. You've got this. She began channeling energy through herself, drawing upon every ounce of willpower she possessed, while envisioning barriers rising around her mind like walls being constructed brick by brick. The moment felt electric. Anticipation crackled in the air as she opened herself up to everyone around, allowing them glimpses into who she truly was beneath all that bravado. But just as quickly as it began, the energy shifted. Something dark lurked at the edges of consciousness, a presence that felt foreign yet oddly familiar. A glimpse into chaos. Before she could fully comprehend what was happening, a sudden surge overwhelmed her senses. Her carefully constructed barriers began crumbling under pressure, shattering like glass before an unseen force. Panic surged through Sophia as chaotic visions flooded into her mind, images flashing by too quickly for comprehension. She felt herself slipping away into darkness, a void threatening to consume everything. "Enno!" She screamed internally, her heart racing wildly as fear gripped hold tightly around it. But just when it seemed all hope was lost, an unexpected surge surged forth from deep within, a primal instinct ignited by sheer determination. With one final push, Sophia fought back against this encroaching chaos. She would not be defeated, not today. As reality blurred around her, the stage was set for an extraordinary clash between light and darkness, the outcome uncertain but filled with endless possibilities. The demonstration, the moment of truth. Sophia stood at the front of the classroom, feeling both exhilarated and terrified. The energy in the room was palpable, a mix of anticipation and anxiety as her classmates watched her every move. She took a deep breath, trying to center herself amidst the swirling emotions around her. This was her moment to shine, or to fail spectacularly. "All right, folks," she announced, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "Prepare to have your minds blown." The class erupted in a mix of laughter and nervous chatter. Professor Ziller raised an eyebrow, his tentacles twitching with a combination of curiosity and concern. "Miss Hernandez," he said, his voice echoing through their minds, "please proceed with caution. Mental shielding is not to be taken lightly." Sophia nodded, acknowledging his warning, but feeling a surge of defiance. She was determined to prove herself, not just to her classmates, but to herself as well. She closed her eyes and focused inward, channeling her thoughts into a single point of energy. Channeling energy. As she concentrated, she envisioned a barrier forming around her mind, a shimmering shield that would protect her from any intrusive thoughts or psychic influences. She had practiced this technique countless times in her own mind, but now it felt different. There was an intensity that made the air crackle with anticipation. With each passing second, she felt the energy building within her, like a storm ready to break. "Okay," she whispered to herself, "let's do this." Sophia opened her eyes and projected her mental shield outward, visualizing it expanding beyond her physical form. The classroom dimmed slightly as the psychic energy shifted around them. She could feel the weight of her classmates' gazes on her, their curiosity mingling with apprehension. "Now," she said confidently, "I'll show you how a human does mental shielding." The backlash. As she pushed the energy outward, something unexpected happened. Instead of creating a solid barrier, Sophia felt a sudden backlash, a surge of chaotic energy that rippled through the classroom like an electric shock. The shield she had envisioned shattered instantly, replaced by an overwhelming wave of psychic noise that flooded into her mind. "Ow!" she screamed internally as visions flashed before her eyes. Images of fear, confusion, and darkness swirling together in a chaotic dance. The classroom erupted into chaos as students reacted to the sudden influx of psychic energy. Some clutched their heads in pain while others stumbled back in shock. Professor Ziller's tentacles flailed as he tried to regain control over the situation. "Miss Hernandez, what have you done?" he shouted, his voice tinged with urgency. Sophia struggled against the torrent of sensations crashing over her. Thoughts that weren't hers mingling with her own fears and insecurities. It felt as if a psychic storm had descended upon them all. A mysterious entity. Amidst the chaos, Sophia sensed something lurking at the edges of her consciousness, a presence that felt foreign yet oddly familiar. It whispered to her in soft tones, promising power and understanding if only she would let it in. "Embrace me," it urged softly. "You are stronger than they know." Sophia recoiled instinctively, fighting against the seductive pull of this entity. "Get out of my head," she shouted internally as she struggled to maintain control. But the entity was persistent. It pressed against her defenses like water seeping through cracks in a dam. She could feel its influence spreading through her mind, twisting thoughts and emotions until they became unrecognizable. In the midst of this psychic turmoil, Sophia caught glimpses of what lay beyond. Visions of vast landscapes filled with strange creatures and alien worlds. It was intoxicating and terrifying all at once. Classroom chaos. The classroom was now in complete disarray. Students were panicking as they struggled against the psychic backlash emanating from Sophia's demonstration gonnery. Some Zoret students began exhibiting strange behaviors, twitching uncontrollably or speaking incoherently as their minds grappled with the overwhelming psychic noise. "Focus. Everyone focus," Professor Ziller shouted desperately as he attempted to calm his students while also trying to reach Sophia through their shared psychic link. But Sophia was lost in a whirlwind of thoughts and sensations, her own mind battling against this new entity that threatened to consume her entirely. "Help me," she cried out mentally, hoping that somehow someone could hear her above the chaos. The aftermath. As quickly as it had begun, the chaotic storm began to subside. Sophia felt herself being pulled back from the brink just as suddenly as she had been thrust into it. She gasped for breath as reality came rushing back. She found herself standing at the front of the classroom surrounded by wide-eyed classmates who were slowly regaining their composure. "What just happened?" Frank whispered from his seat near the back, his expression a mix of concern and awe. I don't know," Sophia admitted shakily as she looked around at the aftermath of what had transpired. The classroom was littered with scattered papers and chairs knocked askew from where students had jumped back in fear. Professor Ziller approached cautiously, his tentacles quivering slightly as he assessed the situation. "Miss Hernandez," he began slowly, "your attempt at mental shielding has resulted in an unforeseen consequence." "I didn't mean for this to happen," Sophia protested defensively as shame washed over her. "I just wanted to show everyone how humans think." The professor regarded her thoughtfully for a moment before speaking again. "It appears you have inadvertently opened a door that may have allowed something else into your mind." Sophia's heart sank at his words. She realized that whatever had tried to invade during her demonstration was still lingering somewhere within her consciousness, a dark presence waiting for an opportunity to take hold. A new resolve. As silence fell over the classroom once more, an eerie calm settling over them, Sophia took a deep breath and straightened up. She couldn't let fear dictate what would happen next. If there was something lurking within her mind, she had to confront it head-on. "I'll fix this," she declared resolutely, meeting Professor Ziller's gaze with determination burning brightly within her eyes. "I'll find out what that thing is and send it packing." The professor nodded slowly. There was respect in his eyes now, a recognition of Sophia's strength even amidst uncertainty. "Very well," he replied softly but firmly. "But you will need help." "I'll take whatever I can get," Sophia replied with newfound determination coursing through her veins. As whispers filled the room once more, students exchanging glances filled with concern and curiosity, Sophia knew that this was only the beginning of a much larger journey ahead. A journey where understanding would be key, not only for herself, but for everyone around her. With resolve igniting within them all, the stage was set for an extraordinary clash between light and darkness, the outcome uncertain but filled with endless possibilities. The demonstration. The classroom buzzes with anticipation. The atmosphere in the classroom was electric. Students exchanged glances filled with a mix of excitement and trepidation as Sophia prepared to demonstrate her mental shielding techniques. The chaos from her previous psychic backlash still lingered in the air, creating an undercurrent of tension that made everyone acutely aware of the stakes involved. Sophia stood at the front, her heart racing as she faced her classmates. She could feel their eyes on her, a mixture of curiosity and concern swirling around the room. Professor Zeller had warned her about the dangers of mental shielding, but she was determined to prove that humans could hold their own in this psychic battleground. "All right, everyone," she said, trying to inject some humor into the situation despite her nerves. "Let's see if I can keep the voices in my head from singing show tunes this time." A few chuckles rippled through the class, easing some of the tension. Sophia took a deep breath and focused inward, channeling her energy as she had practiced countless times before. She envisioned a barrier forming around her mind, a shimmering shield that would protect her from intrusive thoughts and unwanted psychic influences. The energy shifts. As she concentrated, Sophia felt the familiar sensation of energy building within her. It was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. She could sense the psychic vibrations in the room, the collective anticipation of her classmates mingling with their lingering fear from earlier. "Okay," she whispered to herself, "you can do this." With a determined nod, Sophia projected her mental shield outward. The energy radiated from her like a wave, enveloping her in a protective cocoon. For a moment, everything felt right. She felt powerful and in control. But then, just as quickly as it had begun, something shifted. A dark energy began to seep into her consciousness, an insidious presence that felt foreign yet oddly familiar. It whispered to her softly, promising strength and understanding if only she would let it in. Sophia's eyes widened as panic surged through her. "No, get out!" she screamed internally, struggling against this new force that threatened to overwhelm her. Chaos unleashed. The moment was chaotic. Students gasped as they felt the sudden surge of psychic energy radiating from Sophia. The classroom erupted into chaos as some students clutched their heads in pain, while others stumbled back in shock. Professor Ziller's tentacles flailed as he tried to regain control over the situation. "Miss Hernandez, what have you done?" he shouted, his voice tinged with urgency. "I don't know," Sophia cried out, feeling herself slipping further into darkness. The visions flooded her mind, images of fear and confusion swirling together like a tempest. In that moment, she realized that whatever had tried to invade during her demonstration was still lingering somewhere within her consciousness, a dark presence waiting for an opportunity to take hold. "Help me," she cried out mentally, hoping that somehow someone could hear her above the chaos. A mysterious entity emerges. As panic spread through the classroom, A strange calm enveloped Sophia amidst the storm raging within her mind. The entity whispered sweetly to her, urging her to embrace its power. "You are stronger than they know," it said softly. "No," Sophia shouted internally, fighting against its seductive pull. "I won't let you take over." But the entity pressed on relentlessly. It pushed against her defenses like water seeping through cracks in a dam. She could feel its influence spreading through her thoughts, twisting them until they became unrecognizable. In the midst of this psychic turmoil, Sophia caught glimpses of what lay beyond. Visions of vast landscapes filled with strange creatures and alien worlds. It was intoxicating and terrifying all at once. Suddenly, one of the Zorat students near the front of the class screamed, a sound filled with pure terror that broke through Sophia's concentration. "It's too much. I can't take it," they cried as they fell to their knees. The sight sent shockwaves through Sophia. She realized that whatever was happening wasn't just affecting her. It was impacting everyone around her. A collective struggle. Professor Ziller moved quickly to help his students regain control over their minds while attempting to reach Sophia through their shared psychic link. "Focus. Everyone focus," he shouted desperately. But for Sophia, it felt like she was drowning in an ocean of chaos, a tide pulling her down into darkness while she fought desperately for breath. She could sense other students struggling too. Their minds were being bombarded by waves of psychic energy spilling from hers like an uncontrolled flood. "Come on," she urged herself fiercely as she fought against the entity's influence. "You can do this." With sheer determination coursing through her veins, Sophia pushed back against the darkness threatening to consume her mind. She envisioned herself standing tall amidst the storm, a lighthouse guiding lost ships safely back home. The aftermath. As quickly as it had begun, the chaotic storm began to subside. Sophia felt herself being pulled back from the brink just as suddenly as she had been thrust into it. She gasped for breath as reality came rushing back. She found herself standing at the front of the classroom surrounded by wide-eyed classmates who were slowly regaining their composure. "What just happened?" Frank whispered from his seat near the back, his expression a mix of concern and awe. I don't know," Sophia admitted shakily as she looked around at the aftermath of what had transpired. The classroom was littered with scattered papers and chairs knocked askew from where students had jumped back in fear. Professor Ziller approached cautiously, his tentacles quivering slightly as he assessed the situation. "Miss Hernandez," he began slowly, "your attempt at mental shielding has resulted in an unforeseen consequence." "I didn't mean for this to happen," Sophia protested defensively as shame washed over her. "I just wanted to show everyone how humans think." The professor regarded her thoughtfully for a moment before speaking again. "It appears you have inadvertently opened a door that may have allowed something else into your mind." Sophia's heart sank at his words. She realized that whatever had tried to invade during her demonstration was still lingering somewhere within her consciousness, a dark presence waiting for an opportunity to take hold. A new resolve. As whispers filled the room once more, students exchanging glances filled with concern and curiosity, Sophia knew that this was only the beginning of a much larger journey ahead, a journey where understanding would be key not only for herself but for everyone around her. "I'll fix this," she declared resolutely, meeting Professor Ziller's gaze with determination burning brightly within her eyes. "I'll find out what that thing is and send it packing." The professor nodded slowly. There was respect in his eyes now, a recognition of Sophia's strength even amidst uncertainty. "Very well," he replied softly but firmly. "But you will need help." "I'll take whatever I can get," Sophia replied with newfound determination coursing through her veins. With resolve igniting within them all, The stage was set for an extraordinary clash between light and darkness, the outcome uncertain but filled with endless possibilities. The entity emerges. The aftermath of chaos. As the chaotic energy in the classroom began to dissipate, Sophia felt a heavy weight settle in her chest. She had inadvertently unleashed something far beyond her control, and now it was lingering within her mind. The whispers of the entity echoed faintly, a reminder of its presence as she tried to regain her composure. The classroom was still in disarray. Students were slowly picking themselves up, their expressions a mix of confusion and concern. Professor Zeller moved among them, offering words of comfort and guidance, but his attention remained focused on Sophia. "Miss Hernandez," he said softly, his voice cutting through the remnants of chaos, "we need to address what just happened. You've opened a door that may be difficult to close." Sophia nodded, swallowing hard as she tried to shake off the lingering fear that gripped her. "I didn't mean to," she admitted, her voice babely above a whisper. "I just wanted to show everyone that I could do it." "Your intentions were noble," Professor Ziller replied, his tone understanding yet firm. "But this is not a game. The psychic backlash you experienced has allowed something else to enter your mind, a psychic entity that may have its own motives. An unseen threat." As the professor spoke, Sophia's heart raced at the realization that this entity was now part of her consciousness. She could feel its influence, like a shadow lurking just out of sight, waiting for an opportunity to assert itself. "What does it want?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "We don't know," Zeller replied gravely. "It could be seeking power, knowledge, or simply chaos. But we must act quickly before it takes full control." Sophia felt a surge of determination rising within her. She wouldn't let this entity dictate her life or the lives of her classmates. "What can I do?" she asked urgently. "We need to strengthen your mental defenses," Zeller said, his tentacles moving with purpose. "You must learn to confront this entity head-on and reclaim your mind." A new training regimen. In the days that followed, Sophia immersed herself in training sessions with Professor Zeller and other students who offered their support. They practiced various mental shielding techniques, visualizations, meditative practices, and exercises designed to enhance their psychic resilience. Each session was exhausting but invigorating. Sophia could feel herself growing stronger as she learned to push back against the dark presence that lingered within her mind. The whispers became less frequent, but they still haunted her thoughts like an uninvited guest. During one particularly intense session, Zeller guided them through a visualization exercise where they imagined themselves surrounded by protective light. "Picture this light as a barrier," he instructed. "It will shield you from any external influences and help you regain control over your thoughts." Sophia closed her eyes and focused on the warmth enveloping her, a golden glow that pulsed with energy. As she visualized this barrier forming around her mind, she felt a surge of confidence wash over her. Confronting the entity, however, despite the progress she made during training sessions, Sophia knew that simply building defenses wasn't enough. She had to confront the entity directly if she ever hoped to reclaim her mind completely. One night, after an exhausting day of training, Sophia sat alone in her room, contemplating her next move. The shadows danced across the walls as she lit a small candle, a flickering beacon in the darkness. "All right," she whispered to herself, "let's see what you're made of." Taking a deep breath, she closed her eyes and focused inward once more. She envisioned herself standing at the edge of a vast abyss, a swirling void filled with darkness where the entity resided. "Show yourself," she commanded firmly. For a moment, nothing happened. Silence enveloped her like a thick fog. But then she felt it, the familiar presence stirring within her consciousness as if awakening from slumber. The entity revealed. Suddenly, visions flooded her mind, images of alien landscapes filled with strange creatures, and vibrant colors danced before her eyes. In the center of it all stood the entity, a shadowy figure with shifting forms that seemed to defy description. "I have been waiting for you," it spoke softly, its voice echoing through Sophia's thoughts like a haunting melody. "What do you want from me?" Sophia demanded, trying to maintain control over her fear. "I seek freedom," it replied cryptically. "You have opened the door for me. Now I wish to explore this world through you." Sophia felt anger rising within her at its audacity. "You think I would let you take control? I won't be your puppet." The entity chuckled softly, a sound that sent chills down Sophia's spine. "You underestimate me. Together we can achieve greatness beyond your wildest dreams." A battle of wills. Sophia stood firm against its seductive words. She refused to let it manipulate her emotions any longer. "I am not afraid of you," she shouted defiantly. With each word spoken aloud, she felt the golden barrier around her mind strengthen, a shield forged from determination and willpower. "You are strong," the entity acknowledged reluctantly, "but strength alone cannot contain me forever." "Maybe not," Sophia replied fiercely, "but I won't let you take over my life." In that moment of confrontation, their wills clashed like titans, Sophia's resolve against the entity's insidious whispers echoing through her thoughts. As they battled for dominance within her mind, images flashed before them both, memories of laughter shared with friends at school, moments spent exploring alien worlds, dreams yet unfulfilled, all reminding Sophia why she fought so hard against this darkness. Unraveling reality. The journey within. Sophia sat cross-legged on her bed, the soft glow of the candle flickering beside her. The shadows danced on the walls, mirroring the turmoil within her mind. After her confrontation with the entity, she had felt a strange mix of relief and apprehension. She had pushed it back for now, but she knew it was still there, lurking in the recesses of her consciousness. Determined to confront this darkness once and for all, Sophia closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She envisioned herself standing at the edge of a vast chasm, an abyss filled with swirling shadows and whispers that beckoned her closer. This was where the entity resided, and she would not shy away from it any longer. "Show yourself," she commanded, her voice steady despite the fear that threatened to creep in. For a moment, nothing happened. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of her heartbeat echoing in her ears. But then, as if responding to her call, the shadows began to coalesce into a familiar form, the entity materializing before her eyes. The entity's true nature. "Ah, you've returned," it said, its voice smooth and enticing. "I knew you couldn't resist our little dance." Sophia squared her shoulders, refusing to let its words sway her. "I'm not here to dance. I want to understand what you are and what you want from me." The entity laughed softly, a sound that sent chills down her spine. "You seek understanding. How quaint. But knowledge comes at a price." "What price?" Sophia asked defiantly. The entity stepped closer, its form shifting and swirling like smoke in the wind. "You must embrace your true potential. You are not just a human. You are a Deathworlder, a being forged in chaos and survival." Sophia frowned at its words. "What do you mean? I'm just me, a student trying to navigate a world filled with telepaths." "Ah, but that is where you are mistaken," it purred, its voice wrapping around her like silk. "You possess abilities beyond your comprehension. Abilities that could reshape this galaxy if only you would allow me to guide you." A tempting offer. Sophia felt a flicker of doubt creep in as the entity's words resonated within her. What if it was right? What if she had untapped potential waiting to be unleashed? The thought was intoxicating, but she quickly pushed it aside. "No," she said firmly. "I won't let you manipulate me again." The entity's expression darkened, its swirling form becoming more chaotic. "You think you can resist me? I am part of you now. I will always be here, lurking in the shadows of your mind." Sophia took a step back, feeling the weight of its presence pressing down on her. But instead of succumbing to fear, she remembered the training sessions with Professor Ziller and her classmates, how they had taught her to harness her inner strength. "I may not know everything about myself," she said boldly, "but I know that I won't let you control my life." A battle for control. With renewed determination coursing through her veins, Sophia focused on the golden barrier she had visualized during training, the shield that had protected her from external influences before. She envisioned it expanding outward, pushing against the entity's chaotic form. "Get out!" she shouted as she projected the barrier with all her might. The entity screeched in frustration as it was pushed back by Sophia's mental defenses. "You think this will hold me? You are merely delaying the inevitable." But Sophia pressed on, drawing strength from within herself. The memories of laughter shared with friends and moments spent exploring new worlds fueling her resolve. She refused to let this darkness define who she was. "You may be powerful," she said defiantly, "but I am stronger." The confrontation intensifies. As their wills clashed within the confines of Sophia's mind, images flashed before them both, memories of fear and pain mixed with moments of joy and triumph. Each memory became a weapon in their battle, a reflection of Sophia's resilience against adversity. With each surge of energy from within, Sophia felt herself growing more confident. She could see cracks forming in the entity's chaotic facade as it struggled against her barrier. "Why fight me?" it hissed through gritted teeth. "Together we could achieve greatness." "I don't need you to be great," Sophia shouted back fiercely. "I am enough on my own." With one final push, Sophia unleashed all that energy into a brilliant explosion, sending shockwaves rippling through both their minds. The entity howled in frustration as it was cast back into the shadows from whence it came, a final reminder that while darkness may linger, it could never truly claim victory over light. A moment of clarity. As silence fell over their mental battlefield, the shadows receded, and for the first time since this ordeal began, Sophia felt a sense of peace wash over her. She had faced down an unseen threat and emerged victorious. But even amidst this triumph, a lingering question remained. What would happen next? Would this victory hold, or would the entity find another way to assert itself? Returning to reality, with newfound strength coursing through her veins, Sophia opened her eyes slowly. Reality came rushing back like a tidal wave. She found herself sitting on her bed once more, the candle flickering softly beside her. But something felt different now. There was an undeniable clarity within her mind, a sense of purpose ignited by courage. "I can do this," she whispered to herself as determination solidified in every fiber of her being. As she rose from her bed, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, Sophia knew one thing for certain. She would not let fear dictate who she was or what she could become. With resolve igniting within them all, the stage was set for an extraordinary clash between light and darkness, the outcome uncertain but filled with endless possibilities.